Welcome to Leading from Within, How Workforce Training Builds Community Power. I'm here with my guest, Blanca Davila. And today we're kicking things off with Blanca, who I had the honor of collaborating with, and we worked on leadership also together. And this program is very near and dear to my heart. Blanca's been in a powerhouse in economic development from Brownsville to Mission, Edinburgh, LRGVDC, and now you're the role of Director of Professional Education and Workforce Development at UTRGV. And she's helping reshape how our region thinks about training and growth. And so I want to get to know Blanca a little bit, and I want you guys to get to know her. And so, Blanca, with your new role, your amazing resume, can you talk a little bit about what your role is at UTRGV?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Daniel. This is a pleasure. And thank you for saying I'm a powerhouse. I don't know about that, but thank you. We are committed to our work here. But yeah, as Director of Professional Education and Workforce Development with UTRGV, our commitment is with our community to enhance and upskill and reskill our workforce within the region. We are a four-county region, and UTRGV is a distributed campus that has a presence across the four counties. We have a presence here in Elsa. We have a partnership with you, so thank you for that. And we get to do some really cool and exciting work with you with the Leadership Elsa. So we're excited. We have a team about 16 people, and they're very committed to their work. They're program managers. We coordinate over 50 plus programs. Some of them are on an ongoing basis every semester. And then we also do customized trainings where we partner with industry, different sectors, and do customized trainings for them depending on their needs. So I'm excited to expand on that a little bit more with you.
Of course. And so you've been someone who's very involved in economic development. And as you know, in economic development, there's a bunch of different facets. There's a lot of pillars in economic development where it's community engagement, workforce development, retail, bringing in companies. Um, why do you think workforce development is kind of one of the most underrated ones in ADC, one of the most underrated pillars in ADC?
Yeah, it actually is one of the reasons why I joined economic development. Growing up in Brownsville in the RGV, some people do face a lot of barriers in getting living wage employment. And a big conduit to a living wage job is education. And it could be anything from a certificate, certification, associates, a bachelor's, a master's. It's a wide range of higher ed education for anyone. And going into living wage employment. So that kind of inspired me in learning more about the cradle-to-career pipeline, inspired me to go into economic development to create the job creation. But in order to create the job creation, you have to support and train your workforce, right? And without that, you may have the jobs, but if you don't have the workforce, then you can't fill the jobs that are coming as people recruit, the business development. You bring different companies, different retailers, you expand on the sectors you have here in the counties. Yeah, it is underrated because it may not be the most fun and exciting thing to do as bringing or landing a company. But it is the most important. The human capital in our region is, we have a lot of it, but we do have to spend some time and invest in our people in giving them the skills, the appropriate skills and tools to fill the jobs that, economic developers like yourself are bringing into our region and into our communities. Without that, it's great. We're doing all the recruitment, but if we don't have the right tools with the right people, then we can't fill those jobs.
Definitely. And I think a lot of the stuff that we work on always feels like the chicken and the egg scenario.
Which one comes first? Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out
Both.
we need the company, but we need the workforce, and
Yeah.
we want the workforce, but we want the company for that. And so,
Yeah.
I think you guys play a vital role in everything that we're doing as a region
Mhm.
to kind of push the needle on that. Kind of moving into a little bit of UTRGV, I think a lot of people think, they hear trainings and then they really don't understand what's going on, or they hear about the UTRGV has programs, and they may think that the training is like a one size fits all. Can you talk a little bit about how UTRGV is kind of, changing that narrative, and what you guys are doing to improve that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to answer the question first, it's a two-parter. Creating partnerships with our different communities in our region, like our partnership with Elsa, is a huge start. To address your comment of which one comes first, I think you address both, right? And the higher ed institutions, including UTRGV, have to have a seat at the table with our economic developers in our region, right? We do have to do the recruiting, but we also do have to do the training that's industry aligned training as well, right? Depending on what type of sectors and industry you're bringing in. Um, but UTRGV is higher ed, it's academic, but our department is non-academic, and we do a lot of professional development where we provide short-term condensed curriculum in some of our programs to then quickly turn around, test, and get certifications. We have healthcare programs that do that. We have paralegal programs. We have more on the Word, Excel, PowerPoint certifications that we also offer, that those may be also underrated skills that are very critical to the jobs. Like Excel, you can really do a lot. And people are usually fearful of that skill, but without knowing that they can take classes to really enhance that skill, that particular skill. But yeah, I mean, we do have a different catalog of portfolio of trainings, anywhere from we have our certified public manager program, which you participated as well. I also participated as well, among others. That's a very important program for us as we train our government institutions within our region. We have our English language program, which we train and educate international individuals to learn English, and so they can either transition into the academic world or into the workforce world, not just here in the US, but in our border, either Matamoros or Reynosa, in some instances, even Monterrey. English is a skill that some people are pursuing, and we offer those classes as well. I mentioned our healthcare programs. We offer anything from pharmacy tech to phlebotomy to our CMA program, our medical assistant program. So it's a pretty diverse catalog, and we pride ourselves in marketing and ensuring that people that may be transitioning in career or getting a degree and want a certain type of certification to enhance their degree can really come to our department and fill that need with us.
And I think, how are people finding out about what you guys are doing? I mean, I think I feel like I know because I'm in the world, but how does someone in Elsa, someone in Brownsville, someone in Mercedes kind of find out about what programs you guys are running?
That's a very good question. We do a lot of efforts online, right? Social media. We've revamped our marketing strategy with the support of our marketing department from with the university. But a lot of it is relationships and word of mouth. Obviously, the experience that our participants have when they go through our programs, we rely on that heavily as we focus on their experience, because then they go out into the community and share their experience with others, and then also let them know you should join or you should participate or you should look into the online catalog or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, we do social media marketing, we do events, we do our partnerships, we try to partner in different ways. Like in this case, we did Leadership Elsa, but our customized trainings, we go to our partners and train. And we also talk about what we offer and the different types of programs that are currently in our catalog. But yeah, word of mouth, we find that is very important to us.
I think when you look at like a small business owner or an employer or even an individual specifically, I think a lot of times the lack of skills or the lack of the training that they have access to sometimes feels like a ceiling for them. And if if they're listening right now, what is something that an employer, an individual can do to start upskilling either their team or themselves?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing to say is to invest in yourself and your team, right? Your employees. Sometimes it comes at a fee, right? But the investment in education and training and upskilling and sometimes even reskilling of your staff or yourself can go a long way. So invest in yourself, even if it's a 3-hour training, and learning never stops. It's ongoing. Even doesn't matter what age you are. It's always encouraged to foster that culture of learning wherever you are. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, if you're an employee, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, there's always something that you could learn and gain a new skill. So I would tell them to be courageous and invest in themselves.
And what do you think is the audience that you guys are kind of hitting right now? Like, are these just recent high school graduates? Or are they in their 20s or 30s or 40s?
Yeah, just recently we reviewed our Google Analytics for our website, and we did get some demographics on the age, and most of our the demographic is 18 to 24. And that's mainly for the entry level certifications that we have for our healthcare programs or our legal programs like paralegal. But we also, the next audience of age is the 45 to 55, so that proves to us that it doesn't matter what age you were in. People are always looking to learn something and to upskill and to gain a new certification, even if it's something quick or a year long, 6 months, 3 months. It doesn't matter. It just depends on how you want to invest in yourself and what skill you want to gain. But yeah, we target, a little bit of everything. Our students our students from UTRGV are also part of our audience. High school students as well, as they transition into that adulthood, university, college, or workforce. But we also target middle managers. I think that's an area where middle managers across different sectors can always build on their leadership skills, management skills, on their craft, right? Program management skills, project management, but also the executives. That's another area that we look at and target, because as top-notch executives, you also need some visionary, strategic planning skills to apply for your business or for your organization, and also while you lead your team, right? Or you lead yourself. So we have different pockets depending on the programs that we offer, and different ages depending on the type of program.
Yeah, that's great. I think we talked about this before. Elsa, to me, is like a little bit different than a lot of the cities in the valley because we're just a little off the beaten path, right? We're
Mhm.
pretty close to Wesco, pretty close to Harlingen, pretty close to Edinburgh,
Yeah.
but we're not kind of contiguous like a lot of the rest of the valley is.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of creates some hurdles for our community. But looking at those hurdles, what are the biggest gaps in rural workforce development, and what do you think we can do as a community to kind of bridge those gaps?
Yeah, workforce in rural communities is a big topic, right? Connectivity to jobs, to resources. There's always seems to be that gap, that you mentioned. But we do need the champions like yourself, like your city managers, your council people to really advocate and bring the resources here, because you are close to larger cities like Harlingen, Edinburgh, Wesco, and they're experiencing a lot of growth as well. But having some, connectivity and some conduits to that, like UTRGV is a big one as well. But to answer your question about the workforce, I think you're doing that already with bringing different programs, creating things that are happening in different areas around the state and our community, or even the national trends, bringing that to Elsa for your residents, for your constituents, and having them participate so they can learn and be part of something that they perhaps maybe haven't been part of before, that other people in different communities get to experience, but now Elsa gets to do that as well.
Right. I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into Leadership Elsa and the program that we've kind of worked together to build. You played a huge role in helping this. I know we had multiple meetings talking about how to craft Leadership Elsa as a homegrown leadership program. Why, when I came to you, why did you say yes when I pitched the idea, and why is Elsa a good fit? Why does it make sense here?
Yeah, I mean, when you reached out to do a brainstorm, a leadership Elsa, some sort of professional development for your community, we were pretty jazzed about that. You've been part of leadership classes before. I've been part of leadership classes before. So we have a good idea of what it entails to be part or what it takes to host a leadership class, a cohort at least. But what was very unique about this opportunity was that you wanted to pair it with some professional development. It wasn't just, visiting different organizations and getting a presentation, which all that is very valuable to constituents and residents and business owners. But that professional development aspect of it, pairing it with that is what really makes it stand out from other leadership classes that at least I've been part of, and I'm sure you've been part of as well. Um, the level of networking it involves is invaluable. We've expanded our network because of it. You and I are friends because of it as well. But learning a new skill, learning from an experienced instructor that can really shed some light on practical experience, not just for a small business, but for someone that works at the city in the public sector, can really make the difference in really standing out as a community member, but also for their business, right? So that professional development aspect, when you were talking about leadership development, communication, customer service, and having the online skills to really enhance their day-to-day or just their business or just how they service people in our community is really unique to this program and that we really liked.
Mhm. We crafted the 6 classes, and we're close to halfway through them right now.
Yeah.
Um, when all is said and done, what is your hope that the ELSA participants walk away with for themselves, and then how about for the community as well?
Yeah, well, I want for their experience to be so memorable that they become ambassadors of Elsa, and they come back and ask you to create another cohort. Come back and ask for a second cohort, and that could really create some sort of legacy for leadership Elsa, right? For not just the city, but for the EDC as well. But then, so then they can turn around and be a better community member, right, in their community, not just as an employee of the city or an employee of a bank, right, or a leader in the industry, but on how they service and communicate with their fellow members in Elsa and how they communicate about Elsa as well. As you mentioned, it's kind of, its own siloed place. But now when you invest in your people and you give them the tools and the skills to really communicate and really treat each other professionally, right? Elevate that level of customer service can really set the community apart. So that would be my wish for them.
Uh, I think I think a program like this kind of shifts the mindset of the community. And one of the things that we talked about when I was figuring out how to recruit a cohort
Yeah.
was really hoping that the things that the cohort learns, they're able to just spread across the community. And so if you have, these people that are becoming leaders, better at customer service, better at being empathetic, being better at technology, when they go back to their respective, jobs or businesses or departments, they're kind of spreading everything they've learned and kind of growing that, planting the seeds within Elsa. So I really appreciate the program and everything that we've kind of put together. I'm really excited about it. Um, you've been involved in a lot of different cities. You've seen them grow and evolve, and I think you've been in economic development for a while now. What's different about the way Elsa is approaching our economic development in the rural area?
Well, for starter, your marketing. I think it's been standing out, the way you talk about Elsa, not just within the community, but outside of the community. I think, your creativity and your team's creativity has really set Elsa apart in that way. The branding, really focusing on that, can really, you know, to show people from the outside what Elsa could be, and if in most instances what it already is, right? All the opportunities that it has. It's just about highlighting them and how you highlight. I mean, you're very involved with the small business community here, and I think that was something that was needed from before, and really connecting those resources, not just from the EDC, but from the city side, now the university as a partner, bringing those resources to the community, to people that are working here, are opening businesses here, and they have to travel to other communities to get what they need, but now they can actually get the services here within their community. So, I mean, that's something that's very, that has been, stood out to me, the way you market and talk about Elsa, which has a lot to offer.
I appreciate that. I, I think we all kind of, within our own parts of economic development for the region, we kind of face our own hurdles and have our own obstacles that are
Always.
a lot of times they're like,
Always.
yeah, they're not easy to
Yeah.
fix, and it's easy to identify the problems, but it's not easy to fix those problems.
Yeah.
And so, I really like the phrase you used earlier, cradle to
Career.
career.
Mhm.
And I used to teach at the high school level. My mom was an educator. It's very easy to put the blame on something. Point the finger.
Point the finger,
It's
yeah.
not our fault. It's these people's fault. Or the high school teachers may point at the middle school, and middle school may point at elementary, or maybe point at early development. And so, it's very easy to kind of go down that path. But I think people like yourself are really kind of just putting in the work with what we have and making things happen. And it's really, I admire that. I admire everything UTRGV is doing, and everyone regionally, right, is kind of pulling their weight and doing what they can with what they have. If if you look at your obstacles and your hurdles that you have to overcome, and you had a magic wand, what's one thing that you wish you could just fix here in the region that has to do with workforce development, whether it be more people knowing about it or more people participating or whatnot? What's one thing that you could kind of wave your wand and fix?
Um, I mean, it's something very practical and doable, actually. I would wave a wand and across different sectors, have quarterly trainings, for their employees across, different businesses, municipalities, nonprofits. And in some instances, some, organizations are already doing that. And we're always very happy to hear that they invest in their employees and they understand the value of that, right? In training and investing in their teams. But sometimes it's not as obvious, or the resources may not be there. So I would probably wave the wand, give them the resources to provide those quarterly or maybe twice a year trainings, and support for their staff. A lot of the times we find that, a training or two, can really solve an issue, not just with staff, but procedurally, right? The procedure or process wise may be fixed with some training, right? And sometimes that's not possible for whatever reason. So I would provide the resources, facilitate all of that, and have them come to UTRGV for training.
And I think I think Elsa is not unique in the fact that we're using and kind of partnering with you guys.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about who, other than Elsa, who else is or doing these kinds of things? Who's using the resources and training their employees and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's been a remarkable year for our department and UTRGV. We've really, explored and really delved into partnering with different sectors in our community. We've obviously partner with City of Elsa and Elsa ADC, the City of Brownsville, Brownsville PUB. One of our highlights is SpaceX and training them in leadership and communication and project management. We've also worked with different companies like Emerson Tool, and we just recently completed a training with Region 1, and we're going to do another training with them, communities and schools. They're in Hidalgo County. We trained them for bereavement, but then something that's really exciting, talk about the power of social media. The communities and schools in Tennessee saw us, so now we're going to train online communities and schools from Tennessee. I know. So I meant it when we're very excited and seeing how we can work with different organizations, companies, and the work that we do. We're very intentional in our customized trainings and meet with our partners and bring in our instructors to ensure that we're filling the needs that are needed. Or that are communicated to us, so we can then provide the training and fill those gaps, right? And sometimes it does not have to be a very extensive and elaborate training, but it has to be a very intentional training. And we work with our partners closely. Time is always, short, and resources are also short, so we pride ourselves in that as well. We're very accessible, approachable. We work with people, we meet them where they're at, and we deliver quality trainings. And we have great staff, great instructors, and great partners that we're capable and able to do that. And the leadership, of course, always supporting. That's a must. But yeah, I mean, we're very excited to continue working with SpaceX, obviously, and then enhancing their project management skills. And we were kind of psyched. We're like, wow, they reached out to us, to provide training. Absolutely, like we're there. So we're continuing that project with them until probably next year. So we're pretty excited about that.
It's a very impressive list. I know a lot else is on there.
I know, yeah, me too. And that's just to prove what type of work we could do. We can work with anyone, right? We can work with smaller communities, rural communities, larger companies, medium-sized organizations, nonprofits. So we can pretty much customize anything to any type of sector or industry.
Very cool. A little bit on leadership. Kind of want to talk about some of those things. And you're a leader in economic development. What's the leadership traits that you admire, but you don't have yourself?
That's a tough one.
I know.
That's a tough one.
I
know. Well, when I think about people that I admire, right, leaders in the community, I try to learn from them, right, and what their skills that they have and what they're really good at. I would say that something that's an ongoing work in progress is communication, maybe public speaking, like exceptional public speaking. There's always, room for improvement there. Communicating a message and leaving people like inspired, right? I think maybe that's something that I would strive or continue to strive to practice and do, and always look to leaders when they're able to do that and how easily sometimes they can do that. It's not easy for everyone.
Do you have a track that you share to for that, where we could join
The
that
public
class?
speaking, no, but we can definitely create one.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah,
I feel
communication.
the same way. I go to some of our events and you see some of our colleagues on the mic and they get amazing presentations and the whole crowd's engaged.
I know.
And I look at them like, I want to be like that one day.
Yeah, they're enthralled and, fixated on the message, and they leave inspired, right? And, I wish more people had that, including myself. But I think, putting that to practice more would be something that I would want to have in the future or now.
What's one underrated skill that's helped you succeed?
I don't know if it's underrated, but planning. I'm a planner, and it's something so simple that people always talk about, planning and having a planner, using your calendar. But if if you have, it's definitely a skill. If you have the ability to plan accordingly and even the resources to have like a planning or project management tool that could really set you apart in your work and balance and manage different projects at once. It could be overwhelming, which is why planning comes in handy, right? Breaking out the tasks, breaking out deadlines, breaking out deliverables, and doing that effectively. I think it's an underrated skill, and people say like, "Oh, just plan," and it's like it's a little bit more than that, right? Yeah, there has to be some thought, some application, some time investment. You have to sit down and plan, right? And then also evaluate everything else that you have going on, right? It's not just about that one thing, but just how it fits into your overall picture and workload and life and work life and all of that. So um, that I feel like that has been my underrated skill. And I've worked to hone that by learning more and more on how to work projects, but also meet deliverables and give results, right? That's important. Because you can plan all you want, but then if you don't do the results and, do the deliverables, then you've done all the planning in vain, right? But yeah, it has to be intentional planning that delivers results.
So I have one closing thought. And we kind of spoke about this earlier a little bit, but just kind of give you one more time. Let's say someone is listening and feels stuck and they're working, raising a family, running a business maybe. What would you say to them to remind them that growth is still possible here in Elsa?
In Elsa.
For themselves. Here,
For
some
themselves.
you remember in Elsa, what's something that you would say to kind of encourage them to take this step, right? To register for that class, to be part of that professional development, to sign up for the training.
Yeah, I would tell that someone that's feeling sort of stuck to reach out to our department. They can find us online. They can Google Professional Education and Workforce Development, UTRGV, or they can just visit our website, pewd.edu. They can call us as well, and they can also set an appointment online if they wish. We're pretty accessible in different ways just because different people respond to different things, right? So we always make an effort to meet people where they're at. But they can also peruse our catalog online and find something that really, calls their attention, or they want to expand on the skill. And if they're not too sure, they can ask us and we can definitely advise them and be honest with them, right, on the time of commitment, time, resources, and even on other resources that they can gain with the university or within the community. So yeah, they can definitely contact us in our department.
Great. Well, thank you so much for everything that you guys do, especially for Elsa. It's making a really big impact, and our cohort's excited, our community's excited, and really hoping this is a start of many cohorts to come.
Me too. I'm really excited for you, and thank you for thinking about UTRGV, and we're excited as well to work with you and your first cohort.